this is Bajaj and we are continuing our coverage at the Tork Motor stall at the 2020 Auto Expo, and we have covered a lot of other videos and other stalls as well. Do check our playlist out and do check all the videos that we have done, and you can get an extensive coverage at Drive Spark. What I am showing here in this video today is the Kratos R. So if you know Tork Motors are known for electric vehicles that have been made in India, and they have two models, that's the Kratos and the Kratos R, and they have unveiled another motorcycle called the Kratos X. I have done a separate video, that's the Kratos X, and I've done a separate video of that motorcycle. However, this is the Kratos R and there have been certain updates. What are the updates? Let me run that first. Very few, it's mostly cosmetic. So what you see here is the blacked out battery pack. Earlier it was a different one. Now you get a blacked out battery pack which appeals to the sporty design of it, and also there have been some changes to the paneling around the battery pack as well. It's a trellis frame, and another bigger change is the instrument cluster that you see there. So it has been changed as well. Now it is more streamlined and got more colors on the instrument cluster. So that is the Kratos R changes that have been unveiled at the Auto Expo 2023. However, rest of the specs remains the same. It gets a real world range of around 120 kilometers per charge. In eco mode, in city mode, it gets a range of around 100 kilometers per charge, and sport mode gets a range of around 70 kilometers per charge. And the charging time, let me just check the charging time, and charging time is rated at around 5 hours for a full charge. And what you see here is it also gets a fast charging capability. From 0 to 60% is achieved in under 60 minutes. Now there have been no other changes apart from few cosmetic tweaks and the updated instrument cluster. More or less the motorcycle remains the same. However, let me go give you a walk around of this motorcycle. So you get LED lighting right here, telescopic forks and a disc brake, and also a 100 by 80 section tire, 17-inch wheels right here. And coming to the side section of the motorcycle, you get split seats right there, and there is the charging slot inside the tank, and you can spot the changes here, the blacked out battery pack, and that's the motor right there which is being driven by the chain right there. Let me show you on the other side. You get a tire hugger and a monoshock suspension. There is adjustability for that as well. I'm so sorry, there's no adjustable motor. It's a non-adjustable monoshock right there. There's no adjustable for preload, and there is a normal swing arm. If you had spotted the swing arm on the Kratos X, the concept motorcycle right there, that gets aluminum swing arm, but here it's a trellis frame although, but it gets a regular kind of swing arm, tubular kind of swing arm. So this is the tire hugger, and that's the tail lamp right there, grab rails, and there have been safety guard. You don't miss this in India. So that is the Tork Kratos R. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the chain drive. Final drive has been the chain on the Kratos R. So what did you think about the changes? What do you think about the Kratos R from Tork Motors? Let us know in the comments below. I am continuing my coverage of the ethanol pavilion at the Auto Expo 2023, and I have already showcased a Suzuki Gixxer that is compatible with the ethanol fuel. Please go do check that video out. I've given more details about that in that video. Now I'm continuing the coverage, and what you see here is the Honda XRE. This is a rally bike, and if you have known this motorcycle, it's an adventure motorcycle, and if you have known this motorcycle, you would would have thought that the engine has been made compatible to run with the ethanol fuel. So before I go and talk about show a little more about the motorcycle, because it looks very interesting, let me talk a little bit about the ethanol. So as you know already, ethanol is a fuel that is a mixture of petrol, and also there is a percentage of ethanol that get mixed. So we are currently running E10, that's the ethanol 10 to ethanol, and we are moving towards ethanol 20 by 2025. So what this bike is a future-proof bike. Now this can run ethanol of E20 to E85. So going forward by 2025, if you have this motorcycle at your place, you can go ahead to a fuel pump and fuel up on the ethanol fuel that will be made available by 2025. Why is ethanol needed? Now ethanol is needed because to reduce the demand of crude oil that is required to produce petrol from that raw material. Now if you mix ethanol, there much less of fuel is required to run the motorcycle. So ethanol is a very affordable means of chemical. It can be extracted from various different ways, and using ethanol, a higher percentage of ethanol with the fuel will enable the motorcycle to become more little more efficient and also cheaper to run, because ethanol based fuels are cheaper to buy. It will not be the price of the current petrol prices, which stand at over 100 rupees per liter. But with that, if you would think that if there is any drop in power, let me tell you that there is none. So it still gets a 291.7 cc engine, 27.4 newton meters of torque, 25.6 PS of power, 5-speed gearbox, 13.8 liters of fuel tank capacity, and it can run ethanol between E20 to E85. Now let's talk about the Honda XRE here. So you can spot a digital instrument cluster right here, and handlebar, upright handlebar right here, and a front flexi, and LED headlamp or a combination lamp. That is one thing right there. And you get knobby tires. Since it's an adventure motorcycle, definitely you can spot that. And on the side as well, you can spot a Rally 300 badging right here, a very large seat for the rider to play on this motorcycle. There are rear rack as well, and there is an upswept exhaust to clear the ground clearance of this motorcycle. You got an aluminum swing arm, disc brake at both ends, and a monoshock at the rear right here, and also telescopic suspension at the front. There is no USD forks on this. So that is the Honda XRE ethanol based motorcycle, adventure motorcycle. What do you think about this motorcycle? Let us know in the comments below. Yes, what you see here is the ethanol based Pulsar right here. This is the ethanol pavilion. I have done an individual video of all the models that you see right here, and I am now currently doing the Pulsar video right here. Bajaj has now made sure that they are entering the ethanol game with their one of the most notable motorcycles. That's the Pulsar NS 160. Now, this model right here is still a prototype. This does not mean this is not a production version. A production version will be showcased at a later date. But you can see it has fuel injection right here, and it has E85 Flex. Now, let me talk about that a little bit and talk about the ethanol as well. Why do you need ethanol? Ethanol is required for the motorcycle, for the Indian market, to be more efficient with the use of crude oil. The more ethanol you mix with the crude oil to create petrol, to produce petrol, the cheaper the fuel becomes. Currently, it is priced at over 100 rupees at most states in India, with more and more ethanol. So that's E20, that nothing means 20% of ethanol and 80% of petrol. E85 means 85% of ethanol and 15% of petrol. So E20 would be a lot more expensive than the E85, but E20 is a lot more cheaper than the E0, that means 100% petrol. So the running cost of this motorcycle will come down, and Bajaj has now entered the game with the Pulsar NS 160, which can run on E20 to E85. So that means that India is going to achieve E20 ethanol 20% by 2025. And if you own this motorcycle and if you want to buy this motorcycle 2025, you will be able to use it with the ethanol fuel when the production version is launched. Now, there have been no changes in terms of visual. You get certain badges to show that this can run on the ethanol fuel. Again, this is still a prototype. This does not mean this is not a production version, but this can run on the ethanol E85 from E20 to E85. However, there have been no changes on the specs. It still gets 160 cc engine, 14.6 newton meters of torque, and 12.5 kilowatt of power. Probably around, if you made the conversion to PS, it would come around 22 PS or 23 PS if I'm not wrong. So the performance remains the same. There have been no change. It gets a 12-liter fuel tank, and also, as I mentioned, it runs from E20 to E85. Actually, let me correct that. It runs from E0 to E85. It can run from E0, that means pure petrol, to 85% mixture of ethanol on the Pulsar, Bajaj Pulsar right here. So that is why ethanol is completely required to make the running costs a lot more cheaper in India and That is where Bajaj is also targeting their adding their USP and entering the game of ethanol in the Indian market. So what did you think about this Pulsar NS 160 ethanol based fuel motorcycle? Let us know in the comments below. Like and share this video. We are at the TVS IQ electric stall, and here are some TVS IQ electric vehicles. Now those two are very familiar with, that's the iQube and the iQube S, and what you see here is the iQube ST. Yes, this has been recently launched and unveiled. So what you see here is the iQube ST, and over the standard model it gets enhanced range and also a bigger battery pack as well. But before I go ahead and talk about the specs and other details of the scooter, let me show you what is changed in terms of design. So what you can spot on the ST is that elongated windscreen right here. This marks that this is an ST model. However, all the other aspects and design aspects remains the same. You get that same vertical shaped headlamp and indicators, and what you spot here are the same alloy wheels as well. Side profile also has not been changed much. However, you get ST badging right here, naming the variant, and you also get some red stitching on the seat for some sporty and premium look. You also can spot there are no other changes here, so it remains the same. It gets the same touchscreen display right here. There is a trick to this, if you can spot it. That's the 132 kilometer distance to empty, and also the tail lamp remains the same as well. Vertical tail lamps, LED tail lamps, and you also get the TVS electric lit up badging right here. Footrest remains the same, everything remains the same, and the charging socket also remains the same right here as well. So there have been not many changes in terms of design except for the windscreen and some subtle badges. You can also spot a badging on ST badging here on the apron as well. However, let us get into the specs of this vehicle. And speaking of the specs, this gets the same 3 kilowatt motor, and the performance is also rated the same. However, the top speed has been changed. This gets 82 kilometer per hour top speed and 4.2 seconds in 0 to 40 in 4.2 seconds, which remains the same as the standard model. That's the iQube, and how the range obviously has been increased, and that's because of a bigger battery pack. This now gets a 4.56 kilowatt hour battery pack rather than the 3.04 kilowatt hour battery pack that is available in the standard and the S variant. So it has an increase of over 1.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that translates to a larger range. So in economy, the IQ ST will travel 145 km per charge. On power, it travels 110 km per charge. Now, if you compare it to the standard model, it has got more range of over 45 kilometers on economy, and it has got more range of 25 kilometer on 35 kilometer on the power mode. So these are all the changes. However, the weight of the scooter has been increased by 10 kilos. So the ST weighs 10 kilos more than the S and the standard model. So with that, let me get on to another aspect. So as I mentioned earlier, there is no change in the motor. It gets a 3 kilowatt motor. Peak power is rated at 4.4 kilowatt, and the torque is rated at 33 Nm of torque. That's the continuous torque. So these are all the changes. In terms of charging, now this gets standard 1500 watts of charger as well, which charges the scooter from 0 to 80% in 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is not available on the other variants. However, normal charging with 950 watt charger will charge the scooter from 0 to 80% in just over 4 hours. So these are all the differences. Even the regenerative braking remains the same on the scooter, the iQube ST, and there have been no other changes. The TFT screen remains the same on the S and the ST. However, the standard model definitely it is a smaller unit per se. That's the standard model, and it gets a normal infotainment and the instrument cluster. So these are all the changes on the iQube ST and the iQube S and the iQube standard model. What you see here is the Yamaha Phaser, but it's called the FZ in India. That's because what you see here is a Brazilian spec motorcycle. That's the FZ15. Why am I showing you this motorcycle right here? Because I'm at the Auto Expo 2023 at the ethanol pavilion. Yes, what you see here is the ethanol based motorcycle. Now Yamaha, along with other manufacturers that are present here, TVS, Suzuki, Honda and Hero, and along with Bajaj as well, are now entering the ethanol game. So why are they entering the ethanol game? Why are all these manufacturers entering the ethanol game? Is that India will be moving to E20. If you know about ethanol, E20. So that's nothing but E is the ethanol, E stands for ethanol, and 20 stands for percentage of ethanol. So 20%, E20 means 20% of ethanol and 80% of fuel. So that's the reason it's called as E20. Now, why this motorcycle is important is this is the motorcycle that can run from E20 to E100. So this can run on pure ethanol. Out of all the cars that are present here, all the vehicles that are present here, this is one of the motorcycles that can run 100% ethanol. So you do not have to use any form of petrol fuel on this. The internal combustion engine can run purely on ethanol. Apart from that, there have been no specs revealed. The power figures and all those specs are still under wraps because this is a concept vehicle and there's a Brazilian spec motorcycle. That's why it's called the Phaser FZ15. And why is ethanol required? If you ask me, then I would have one answer is that it's cheaper to run. That's because petrol, which is extracted from the crude oil, is very expensive. Right now it's at over 100 rupees in most states. But with ethanol mix, it will not be so expensive and it will be very cheaper to run. And that is the reason you would need ethanol based fuel in India. And India is moving to E20. This is currently at E10. It is moving to E20 by 2025. Now, will this motorcycle be available in India? Most probably, because Yamaha is not here, but their motorcycle is here, and we can expect Yamaha to launch this motorcycle. It continues to run a 149cc engine, and it gets 11.9 liter fuel tank. It can run from E20 to E100 ethanol-based fuel right here, and that will be a game changer certainly, because ethanol 100 would be one of the cheapest form of fuels that will be available in the Indian market going forward. When we shift to E100, we don't know when, because we're shifting to E20 by 2025. Probably E100 would take a lot of time, but that is the Yamaha Phaser with E100 that can run on pure ethanol. You are looking at the TVS Apache RTR 164V, and if you are in the know, you would have already recognized this bike. This is not a regular RTR 164V. This is an ethanol-based motorcycle that TVS first introduced in the earlier editions of the Auto Expo. It has been around. It has TVS is offering this for quite a while now. It's still in its concept form. We are yet to receive it in the Indian market, but this is present, and this is the TVS Apache RTR 164V ethanol based motorcycle right here. Now, why am I showing you this motorcycle? Because I am at the Auto Expo 2023 and I am at the ethanol pavilion. Here, a lot of manufacturers have displayed their ethanol based vehicles right here, and TVS is among them as well, who have been working on ethanol based motorcycles for quite a while now. And what you can see here is this particular model can run ethanol based fuel from E20 all the way to E85. So this is the ethanol Apache, and there have been no changes made to the engine as well. It more or less remains the same as the regular petrol engine model. So this gets, let me zoom in on a little bit. This gets an engine of 159.7cc engine, and the power figures is rated at 17.55 PS and 14.73 Newton meters of torque. As I mentioned earlier, it gets a 5-speed gearbox. There have not been much changes visually as well. This is currently available in only one color. I have not seen in any other correct color as well. If this is FFT, so that means flex fuel technology, and what you see here is a white color scheme, but there is RTR and ethanol and flex fuel technology written right here. So this is the one RTR 164V And what you see here is the Apache RTR 4V. So 164V, and it also gets SmartX Connect as well. So there is SmartX Connect technology present in this vehicle as well. So apart from that, there have been no other changes. As I mentioned earlier, ethanol is very important for the Indian market. You get ethanol based fuel from E10 currently, but India is moving to E20 by April 2025. And why is that? Is while running ethanol based fuel, it is very cheaper to run because ethanol is easier to manufacture than the petrol, and the running cost will come down because the end product, which is ethanol based petrol, will be cheaper to run than pure petrol because it will be priced lower as well. This will also help in reducing the demand of crude oil that India currently has, and ethanol based fuel is also certainly cleaner and also will help in slight bump in the fuel efficiency as well, without compromising on any power figures or performance on the motorcycle. So this is the TVS Apache RTR 164V ethanol based motorcycle. You are looking at the Benda motorcycle. Yes, Benda is a brand that has been associated with the QJ Motors. So there are a lot of brands under that particular brand name. So you have the Benelli and the Benda and the Kiwi and the Zontes and the Motomori. All those motorcycles are coming under one brand in the Indian market. That's the Motor Vault. So what you see here is the LFS 700, and this is a cruiser or a cafe racer type motorcycle. What would you say? Let us know in the comments below. But certainly looks apart, and one of the highlights of this motorcycle in terms of design is the exhaust right here. Absolutely looks fantastic. You can see that there are two exhausts right here, and the pipe comes down right from there and goes all the way to the catcon that's right here and goes all the way to the engine. So apart from that, you can see the motorcycle, the design what you're seeing, this is certainly quirky, and you can spot the yellow heat shield, I can say, so that the exhaust will be protected for the pillion rider, and it also gets an indicator integrated right here. And there is also a swing arm right there which is very bulky and looks very solid. The entire motorcycle looks very well packed, and you can see the exoskeleton of the frame right here on the motorcycle as well, along with the subframe right there. And coming to the front of the motorcycle, the same sort of trim that you can see right here, if you can spot it, and also the indicators are present on the fairing as well. Very Street Fighter naked look, cruiser look, and the cafe racer style look as well. But these are the headlamps, round shaped headlamps and DRLs right here, and that is how the motorcycle looks. Absolutely looks very cool. So coming to the rear section, so that is the tail lamp. I forgot to show the tail lamp. So that's how the tail lamp looks. Two strips, and there's a tire hugger right there. On the side, the heat shield looks absolutely very good, and that is about it about the design of the motorcycle. Now let's get on to the specs and the features about the motorcycle. So this is powered by a 4-cylinder 680cc engine, 75 horsepower and 67 newton meters of torque, 80 liters of fuel tank capacity, weighing around 226 liters, 226 kgs dry. Now speaking about the bike itself, let me go to the instrument cluster, because if you can spot right here, it says ABS and TCS, so probably it is ABS, that's dual channel ABS, and the traction control system as well. It gets a fully digital dashboard right here, and it gets a lot of switchgear to toggle between different rider aids that are present on the motorcycle, and it gets a very quality switchgear here as well. Looks absolutely massive. And the bike really looks very quirky. If you see it on Indian roads, definitely you would turn around and look at this motorcycle. Sadly, there is no exhaust note which I can make you guys hear, but that is the Benda 700 F LFS. And coming to the technical other aspects of it, it gets dual disc at the front and a telescopic USB shock absorbers at the front, and it gets Brembo calipers as well. You can spot the Brembo calipers right here. And at the rear, it gets a monoshock suspension. Let me spot that out, and it's very deep under the motorcycle. So it gets a monoshock suspension. Actually, it's right here. This is the monoshock suspension on the rear, and it gets a disc brake, single disc at the rear as well. So that is the Benda LFS 700. What do you think about this motorcycle? Let us know in the comments below. And I am going to show you another electric scooter. There are a ton of it, and there is another one from Lohia Motorworks. So what you see here is the LML Star. So this particular scooter is an electric scooter. Seems like a maxi scooter. Before we run into the specs, let me show you a little bit about the design. Starting up front, you can see that there is a display that shows lettering. So we can expect this still in concept form. We can expect this to be present in a production form or not, yet to be seen. You get the logo right there and a piano black finish, and there is the main headlamp and also a windscreen right there. It gets telescopic forks and also alloy wheels. I will come to that in a bit. So it gets 12-inch alloy wheels, and from the side profile it absolutely looks fantastic. It looks robotic, and there is a step up with the seat as well. It gets contrasting stitching, white and red, and there are some red accents right here. It's white in color, but red accents and the black touches certainly add a lot of character to the scooter. So that is the LML Star. Now coming to the rear profile of the scooter, since it is a little tight over here, I can show you like this. So you can expect the tail lamps to be split along with the rear cowl. What you see here, and grab rails looks fantastic. Absolutely looks very good, and it is also driven by chain. It is not a hub mounted motor, so you can spot disc both the sides. Let me go ahead a little bit on the scooter this side. So let me show you the belt drive that is there at the back. So it's not a hub mounted motor, it's a belt driven scooter right here. And what you see right here is the dual shock suspension. So it gets a telescopic shocks at the front, and that is the scooter right there. So that's the design of the scooter. Now coming to the dashboard, if you can see, that's the fully digital instrument cluster, 7-inch TFT digital instrument cluster, touchscreen enabled, and it gets Android Auto, Google Assist as well, and it has 4 modes, and you can see the switchgear all around. So those are the 4 modes. Now coming to the specs a little bit, let me show you, let me tell you what these specs are all about. So starting with the battery motor capacity, it gets a 3.3 kilowatt motor and a peak power of 5 kilowatt. The torque is rated at 38 Nm, and the top speed is rated at 85 km per hour. It will do 0 to 40 in 4.5 seconds is what the brand is claiming. And also riding modes is Sport, City, Eco and Custom. So you get 4 riding modes. IP67 certified battery pack and motor as well for dust and waterproof. Speaking of the battery pack, it gets 4 kilowatt hour battery pack and lithium ion removable battery, IP67 rated again, and that's about it. Now let's move on to the scooter itself. So as I mentioned earlier, it gets TPMS, and it gets the 780 mm seat height, 115 kg curb weight, and Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So Android based open source software for this scooter, and everything, all lighting what you see here is LED, and you also get over the air updates is what the brand is promising, and also you get tire pressure monitoring and regenerative braking here as well. So that is something that you can find in the scooter. So that's about it about the scooter. So what did you think about the scooter? Let us know in the comments below. And what is the range?
Yeah.
What is the range?
We haven't revealed range.
So the range of the scooter has not been revealed yet. I was not able to find it on the spec sheet. That's why I had to ask a representative. So we can expect, since it's a 4 kilowatt battery, we can expect the range to be somewhere around 120 to 150 kilometers per charge. That's the claim range. True range is yet to be known. We will reveal more details about this as and when the company announces them. And at the last, you see this indicator? Absolutely looks fantastic. So that is the LML Star.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.